Call meeting to order, and the first one on the agenda is road foreman. We usually do this, so in the winter time, if he's gotta get up in the morning or he gets up early in the morning, he can get out of here. Floor is yours, Jeff.
Might I say, don't you have to, as a former select board member, don't you have to turn the meeting over to Shauna and elect the chairman and the vice chairman and do all?
Oh,
that?
you know
She's
that?
got down number 6, that way Shauna set the agenda up.
All right.
But,
Procedurally,
he's basically right.
I'm right, right? You're
Yeah,
not
you
the-
are.
You're not the vice chair, he's not the
You know,
chairman.
we got
nobody's
nothing.
nobody,
Okay,
Right?
And if you would like to have us go through that and
I
you can
think-
wait around,
I think you should.
okay.
All right, well,
Well,
I'll turn the meeting over.
here we are. We'll go to review,
Six.
sorry. What is it? Changes to the agenda. Changes to the agenda. Let's move the town officers first. So I'm gonna move Denny Benson as chair of the select board.
second,
Discussion,
I'm gonna call the motion.
all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Vice Chair Jim Linville,
Second.
discussion, all those in favor?
aye,
Board Secretary,
Aye.
signs a paper once in a while.
I'm gonna nominate Linda Songyoki.
I second it.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
And we have our board for 25. Now we can go back to Jeff.
I don't have a lot unless you guys have any major things. We're obviously gonna be coming in the mud season. I don't know if we're getting lucky or we're what, how was your road up coming out of your?
Just that spot that broke up in January.
That's that spot that I just came over Piper Hill or up Dale and over Piper Hill just to check. I didn't check up by Allen Maps, but, Piper Hill and Dale Road were, for the temperatures we've had, were really good for.
Yeah, well, my spot isn't bad, but that's where it's gonna break if it's gonna
Right,
break.
and that's why I figured I'd ask you, so, we're really going day by day to just. Tomorrow morning, everything could be broke up and we're filling mud holes, or tomorrow morning, everything could be froze up and we're doing something else.
I'd be more worried about Sunday than,
Yeah, I'm thinking later this week. It's gonna be
Yeah, you
extra fun for you.
just don't know,
Yeah.
what mud season's gonna bring. And, what was I gonna say? I actually did get some pricing, an excavator, and I think if you and Danny know that I've been interested in getting a town an excavator to catch up on their ditch, work. The town of Weston, in my opinion, is way behind on their ditch work. I brought some pictures if you guys wanna see them, but, I guess my thoughts, and even talking with some other folks around town that seem fairly knowledgeable, I think that about 50% of our damage from the last flooding was due to insufficient ditching. And I got pictures that can back that up. So, I have had Kubota excavators, John Deere, different ones, but, in the mini ones, I've had Kubotas and I've had no trouble with them whatsoever, like, they're like bulletproof. So I just reached out to 3 Kubota dealers and asked them for pricing, and so, I don't have it nailed right down to the nitty gritty. They all came in somewhere in the 130 to 136 for the next size up from the one that I have. So I was hoping to maybe get a motion from the board to let me spend up to like 140 on a I mean, small excavator, I don't wanna, I got these pricings, but I wanna go set right with the machine, you know. It's like buying a new car and you get in and you're like, oh, they forgot to put this in it, or they forget, you know what I'm saying, or, oh, I thought it had that. And over the years, what's happened is we've just basically taken what the dealership, when we priced something out, we just said, well, we gotta take what they gave us, cause that's what, and you can be like, God, it's stupid that we don't have the control inside the cab to make the bucket and the thumb work together, you know what I'm saying? And I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, maybe that's another $100 or $200 add-on, but it just makes your life and makes
You want it
it
set up right.
Yeah, productivity, yeah.
so much fun. And if you guys wanna see the pictures and need to see the pictures and need me to explain the ditching. And I think I would also state, and I think Denny, you'll probably agree with me. Right at this point, we have a spot to get rid of ditching material. But I see that spot filling up very fast. And I don't know where we're going with it when that's full.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, could you explain that to get rid of ditching material
The dirt that they dig out.
that
the
you dig
ditches.
out, you need someplace to put it, I see, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you have a place now, you're saying?
So we take it to the Londonderry transfer station right now, but there's only X amount of room.
Hmm.
And I think right now, with an excavator, it would probably take us 5 years to catch up. To get the roads, the ditches open back up on the edge of the roads, and some of that comes from, we're getting these 2 and 3 mud seasons and a winter snowstorm. So you're plowing dirt into the ditches. You know, if you had 1 mud season in a normal year, and last year we had like 4 of them. So you're trying to carry the plow and stuff, so you ditch, and the next thing you know, your ditch is full of stuff, and you know, the other thing is some of this, we have some highways that don't meet the state's specs for the Clean Water Act, and so we have some roads that are redlined that like need to be addressed, so we have a backhoe, and we need to keep the backhoe, because if a tree blows down on the south end of the village, it's nice to be able to take a rubber tired machine and just run down there and move it out of the way, but the backhoe is so inefficient on, you know, you probably do 150 feet of ditching with a backhoe in a day's time, and you do 1,000 feet with an excavator. And, you know, so that was all, and other than that, I mean, that was the only big thing that I got 3 prices on, you know, just to have an idea, and I can go over them with Denny or you guys as well, but it's kind of the only big thing that I had. Nothing's broke down right now. What has broken, and you know, Linda, you asked me about, you know, was I not interested in the job, and I have to say that the person that you put in this place, so, you know, I didn't realize how many hats that Alman wore, and I kind of did, but you know, since I've been at full time, you know, I've been I mean, I got cold water running again at the town's garage. I don't know how many years the cold water hasn't worked. You were there apparently when it sprung the leak and they capped it off. How many years ago was that?
Wow.
We put a door on the bathroom today.
Gee, that's.
I'm just saying to you, I'm putting brakes on a big truck.
Yeah.
A full brake job one day. I'm doing office work the next day. Doing plumbing work the next day. So that person needs to wear a lot of hats, and then you have to deal with the employees, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, and there's some days where I'm like, I've had 6 different jobs today, you know what I'm saying? You're a mechanic, you're answering phone calls, you're answering questions, you're getting quotes on machinery. I was up last night at 12:30 saying, I wonder what tomorrow's weather's gonna be, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things too, the next person that you find.
No,
We have a motion one way or the other on
Yeah,
this?
I just, I'm gonna make a motion, but I'd just like to point out that we've got $340,000 in our equipment reserve fund. So-
right now, without
that, yeah.
without what we voted at town
And,
meeting,
and that's as of, wait,
first of the year.
no, that, I'm sorry. That's balance of, the end of 2023, and, am I? No, sorry, 340,000, yes.
Yeah.
At end of 2024, yeah, so we're, you know, this isn't gonna blow a hole in the budget.
Yeah, you know, and I had a question for you guys. This goes back to that, you and I were talking about that state aid grant the other day, and that they made 2 payments in 24.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they did. Somebody ought to go back and actually dig into that, because I pulled a 22, 23, 24. So, and 22, the state, for that state aid, for that specific state aid, they gave us about 72,000. 23, they gave us about 74,000. 24, supposedly they only gave us 37,000.
So, I'm, start over, Jeff,
I pulled the books right out.
yeah,
I pulled the books right out.
I thought you mentioned 24 first and then 23, and then you mentioned
Yeah, so
24
I looked
again.
at 22, 23,
Uh-huh,
24, because
yeah,
Kim, somewhere somebody's saying we got we received 2 payments in 24. But the numbers, they don't add up to me. We were getting 70,000 in 22, we were getting 70,000, and I'm using really
yeah,
broad
around, yeah,
numbers.
right.
It's 70
So it
plus,
sounds like
right?
half.
yeah,
And then, and you and I guess what brought it up is that you said that I didn't have as much left in my budget as I thought I did, but I did, because we put down 65,000 for what we anticipated getting back from the state, and it's only showing up as 37, but supposedly they made 2 payments of 37,500, or in that ballpark. I'm not sure if that wasn't one payment. That number combining those 2 37,500s makes more sense to me. And so I went through the town reports, and until you've been on the board long enough to know how to read a town report, and maybe you do know how to read a town report, but so I had to go to what we anticipated for receipts in 22. What did we get? What did we anticipate in 24? We anticipated 65, because we've been getting 70 and 73, and so I think somebody should check into that, because there might be a mess up there, is all I'm saying. But I think it needs further looking into.
It was in 24, you think the,
The 24 is what Kim is showing in the book. If you hand me a 24 book, I can show you, but
Hi, it's Kim.
there's a zillion of them here.
So I'll just pull up the post, how it was posted, but in 23, we were paid all our state aid before the end of our calendar year. And so we would normally get that July through the following June quarterly, and it was around $17,000. So instead of them giving us, July through the end of the year would have been 2 payments, and then 2 more payments before June in the state fiscal year of 24. They gave us everything before the end of our calendar year 2023. And then, because everybody was having floods again in 24, they gave us all of fiscal year 25, I think before the end of August last year. So there isn't any state aid coming to us in the first half of our calendar year. But they did pay us 4 payments sometime last summer, and I'll just pull up the report and show it to you, Jeff, and I'll give a copy to everybody else. And then if I posted it incorrectly, you can tell me.
So we really would need to go back to a 20, so this is a 25, but we need a 24. That 23 will work and a 24 will work. So here I am under anticipated receipts. So this is 2 years later, but I'm under, let's get to anticipated receipts. Where are we? Anticipated receipts, highway, state aid highway. We anticipated 65, we got 73,000. We budgeted 65. But you see, we budgeted 65 again last year. And so if they're doubling these payments up, it still should, that number still should be bigger than that. I mean,
Yeah,
if they doubled it up, I mean, so in 2023, we got 73,000, that's actual.
Well, that's
what we got,
22,
right?
no, that's
Well,
the 22.
But this is
actual.
the 23 book that's showing what we got. So then
So we
the 24, then you got the 2022 right there, which shows the same thing, I'm sure. Anticipated receipts, state aid highway, we budgeted 55, we
In
got.
21, we got
I'm
72.
just saying,
Yeah,
something's not making sense to me.
yeah. Well, let's get a rack up, because clearly there was some fiscal year. We're on a calendar fiscal year, and the state's on a, help me, Kim, June,
Right,
July to June.
yeah, July to June, right?
Yeah.
correct.
That's the state calendar year,
Yeah,
But
And
here's the thing, if it
fiscal
happened,
year.
over the
I think
fiscal year.
January to,
if it
We're
happened
January
in
to December.
22 and it was 75 and it happened in 23, there was 75. It should continue to happen that same way.
Well, it should, except I'll print it out and show you how it worked, because it was funky. So between July and December, well, anyway, I will print it out and show you what I did, and you can tell me what I did or didn't do correctly.
Yeah. Anyway, let's to get to the heart of this. I'm gonna move that we authorize Jeff Ursha to spend up to 140,000. You think you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, all my numbers are under that,
Yeah,
like 136, some.
okay,
you
up
know.
to 140,000 for a new excavator. And by the way, oh yeah,
Further discussion.
well, we need a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it just, this is something I learned. A backhoe is just hung off the back of the machine and doesn't do this. An excavator does this. So you can do the reach of ditch cleaning and then move the machine and then do the reach. Whereas with
And you can move from the seat, where in the backhoe, first thing with the backhoe, you gotta block the road. Because you gotta get crossways in the road, because you, at best case scenario, and usually you're digging straight behind you, but if you get it set up absolutely perfectly in the road, you've got 180 degrees that backhoe moves like this. But so I'm trying to dig over here, but I'm trying to get a truck in the ditch over here so I can put material, you know, and so you got that, where with the excavator, you got the 360. Plus you can keep your lane open, so you're not moving every time a car comes. It just,
Easier.
it's what makes sense,
Sounds more
and
efficient.
I thank
Yeah.
Jim for making the motion, and I think it will well suit the town.
Great.
Anything else, Jeff?
No. I'm good unless you guys got something for me. Can I
do
just say,
you want
let's see
something
what's-
more than a new excavator?
That was so easy, maybe. So,
Thank you for your work.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll go back to number 2, changes to the agenda. Before Debbie leaves, I'd like to talk about this river grant business.
Oh, sure, but I'm happy to wait,
And while you were here for the
the DRB.
DRB,
Yeah. Why
I'm
don't
gonna
we just,
take, I'm gonna take public comment and then we'll move DRB up the line. Any public comment? All right, so why don't we,
Did you have something, Will?
Well,
I think
Are
Will.
you going to address the appointments later?
yeah, they'll be,
In the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about the appointments for chair, vice chair.
no, the-
Members of committees.
Sorry.
Yeah.
about that.
you can-
all right, let's go to the DRB. We are supposed to have two names for alternates on the DRB board. And they're the, do they attend all the meetings, Debbie?
no, only one person has attended one meeting. Can I just go back for a second?
Sure.
So I also wanted to, I know you're doing the DRB alternates, but when you get to the appointment of officers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 DRB members that are up this year, and I just wanted to, put in a word for them to be reappointed. So currently, we don't have any vacancy, currently, we don't have any alternates on the DRB. Our last alternate, the last 2 alternates actually moved up and became regular members. So it's nice for us to have alternates for 2 reasons. One is they learn and then they are ready to move up when we get a vacancy. And 2, sometimes we have quorum issues. And in order to be fair to the public, we had to cancel 1 or 2 meetings this past year because we couldn't get a quorum. And I really hate that. It's not fair to the public to do that, because then they get pushed off, a whole week. So if we can have alternates, then they can fill in when we have a quorum issue. So that's the whole reason, and also state law. The Vermont, not Vermont, the state law provides for alternates on the development review board. At the discretion of the select board. I mean, I realize that it's your call. So the 2 names that I gave you, one came from Jeff Lennox, and unfortunately Jeff is out in Colorado, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but he said the guy's very good. I did talk to the guy. He lives on Holden Hill Road. He's been there for about 10 years. And he has decided that, or he would like to give back to his community. So he looked at the town report and he thought that the development review board was something that he could be interested in. So that guy's name is Christopher Smiles. But I have not met him, but Jeff Lennox does know him. The second guy, his name is Larry Dalzell. And as a matter of fact, I did meet him at town meeting. I mentioned him to Lisa, and Lisa said, oh, he's a really, really good guy. He and his wife helped a whole lot during the flood in terms of getting food and people to places and all that kind of stuff. So she thought very highly of him. He is he's a retired architect, but he still has a business, and basically, I think his business is, if I can figure out on the website, but I think what he does is he takes a look at, if you've hired an architect and you have your architect rendering drawings and everything, and you have a question about them, I think you would hire him to take a look at those drawings and help you work through them. So that's what he does. He's also served on a DRB in his town for a long time before he moved up here. And he lives on Casper Lane. So I have met, and he came to our last meeting. So that's all I can say. And if you want more information, I totally understand. If you want them to come in and you talk to them, it's your prerogative.
Pleasure, folks.
I'm gonna move to appoint him. Or I think we ought to appoint him. We can do that later and when we, start going down this list. But,
I agree. I think Dalziel, is that
Yeah.
Dalziel?
Dalziel, Dalzell.
Dalzell. I think he sounds particularly well qualified. And the other, I respect Jeff Lennox. If he has a recommendation, then I would respect that as well.
And I guess it's also up to you as the select board, you could set a term of 1 year for them so that they would be up for reappointing next year. So there's a little bit of a,
What is the
Wiggle
term
room.
otherwise?
Is the alternate just 1 year usually?
it really depends, we haven't had an alternate for a couple of years because I'd have to go back and look at old town reports. I know that Laura Katz was an alternate and became a full member, and Dan Hannenberg was a alternate and became a full member. So,
And Deb, just looking at the DRB, I see 3 terms that are up in 2025. And they all look very strong to me, particularly this woman with the Q in her name.
So, well, and Dan Hannenberg, see, you have Tom Foster on your list, and he hasn't.
I don't have it on this
Well,
list.
he's in the book. He
Oh.
hasn't been on the DRB for a couple of years, so, and Dan Hannenberg took his place.
Yeah. But we will reappoint those and then, and those will be 2028. So then we have, I'm just looking at equalizing the terms, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 2 is 8, 9. And 3-year terms, we're gonna have a couple of 3s and a couple of years where we have 3 retirement or 3 terms ending, and a couple of years where we have 4 terms ending, but
So what's the
Well-
usual term?
3-year says right under the,
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Thank
that's
you.
that's the usual.
Okay.
But we've got a ton of
So if we appoint if these 2 alternates to 3-year terms, then they would be done in 2028 when we already have 3 other
Yeah.
people for
But
2028.
they're alternates, if you want to appoint them for just a 1-year term and then revisit it next year, that's totally fine.
So it doesn't have to
yeah.
be an alternate, we can choose to just appoint them anyways.
You could even do a 1 and a 2, you know, if you did a 1 and a 2, it allows you to break those numbers up a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
on the select board, as you see, it's like a 2 and a 3, and it
Mhm.
just,
You-
lots of times it keeps you from doing 3 new members at one time.
You could also do, again, just a suggestion to you guys, like Dan is filling Tom Foster's, well, he's not filling it, 'cause Tom Foster hasn't been there, but, if you wanted to put, I mean, you could do Dan for a 2-year term, so he would be up in 2027.
well, that's what he is
That's
up.
what he is.
Yeah.
He is up in 20.
Oh, well, you know what?
I'm guessing we do these both for 2027, and then we've got 3 and yeah, that's as close as we're gonna get.
I'm sorry, Jim, you suggested
Well, we have,
appointing the
we have-
alternates to 2-year terms.
yeah, we're gonna get rid of the 25s. We have 3 26s. We have 3 28s if we reappoint
Right.
the 25s for 3-year terms. So then we have 1 27. So if we appoint both these alternates to 2027, then we have 3 27s, 3 26s, 3 27s, and 3 28s, which just seems sort of symmetrical.
Evens it.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
Alright.
sense.
so that's gonna be my, since we've spent so much time on this, I'm gonna move it. That's what we do. Chris Smiles, that we reappoint the 25s to 28, and that we appoint Chris Smiles and Larry Dalziel
To 2-year
to
terms.
2-year terms, ending in 27.
That's your motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Hey, before you leave, I'm gonna interrupt.
I'm happy to stay if you want to go forward with your regular agenda.
Well, this was gonna be way down at the bottom, Holden.
Okay.
Uh, this Riverbanks grant that Wyndham Regional's working on and the other lady asked some questions at the last hearing up there, and the answers are very vague and it's like they didn't even want to answer them. And so I've asked Shauna to take close notes and type these up and send them to them. But I asked a question about hazardous waste, and they didn't have an answer for the stuff coming out of the river. And then I asked, where's it got to be hauled to? There was no answer. Then the replacement of the bridge up here, the weight that it will carry, is it equal to what this one's carrying now or less? Because we have a ton of government land up there and they're always doing different logging and stuff, and most of it will come down through here, and we don't need a problem with that.
So you want to be sure that it carries as much as the bridge will hold now,
Right, or
Okay.
more.
okay, or more,
The
right?
bridge will
I can only assume that the capacity is equal or greater.
It's
but I'll
dangerous to
check.
assume.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I'm being told, well, if the grant isn't big enough, we're not gonna go for it. Well, if they don't ask these questions and get the answers to them, how can they apply for a grant, not knowing how much money they're gonna need? And the other answer I get lots of times is, well, this is just a little thing and we can absorb it. Well, if you add up all these little things, all of a sudden you got a big number.
no, well,
And is there a plan in place for little school safety? Because if they're bringing that bridge out here, there's gonna be some big equipment running around out here. You've got parents dropping kids off in the morning, picking them up in the fall. And I noticed when this baskets was done over here, the workers conveniently took up the parking spaces right in front of the
But the other thing that I noticed, just, you know, they were actually using the town road to run up and down with their Bobcat to go up. I mean, it wasn't like they were storing stuff down here, so on a bigger scale project, if this small Gabion wall was, you know, they had to use Park Street to run up and down with their equipment, is another thing to consider in the whole scope of the project, like, where are they gonna stage? What
well,
are
that's
they
on
gonna
my
do?
list, yeah. Access to the town office. You know, are they gonna put in a separate fence line to come from across the lawn to the town office? Because I expect not too many people are gonna wanna be coming right up where all the equipment is. Where's your job trailer location gonna be? And where's their yarding area gonna be for equipment and materials? I mean, all this stuff, at least in my opinion, when you write a grant and they're asking for money, you gotta figure all these costs in. And if they go right in the grant and don't figure these in, because I've been told many a times by Mr. Linville, that if this isn't completely covered by the grant, it's a no-go. So I'm just trying to help the situation along.
yeah, what we have seen or what were described to me is like 30% engineering drawings. And you know, all those, you're right, all those, none of those questions have been answered, but you know, when you're in the end, when you have a bid package that you can send out, well, first of all, you can it's good enough to apply for a grant and not worry about being underfunded. And second, second of all, it's good enough to send out to contractors for final bids. you know, that's what they're gonna be doing, assuming we pass through the two tests that this preliminary grant proposal is setting us up for. The first thing is end of April, that grant request is finalized. It goes to a council of representatives of the 11 regional commissions in Vermont. And they are going to spend basically until June or July of this summer to pick the ones that they recommend to be submitted to FEMA. And then FEMA is going to take 6 months to figure out who those winners are. And if we make it through the first round and make it through the second round, then 1 year of detailed design and final pricing that is going to absolutely address every single one of these issues to our satisfaction. So that gets done, and then you've got a bid package, and as I've told Megan Arpino and Alyssa Sabeto, Megan is a stone engineering engineer, and Alyssa is the Wyndham Regional coordinator on this thing. We're counting on this being 100% paid for, and you know, she says, oh yes, this is cost free to the town. So, do I believe her? Yeah, I do. But if it's not, I mean, if we get a grant for, I don't know, pick a number, $2.5 million, and the bids from the contractors come back at 3 or 3.5, I think all bets are off. I mean, at that point, you have to, you know, you might have to break up the projects. It could be that the dam thing, they'll have done tests of the sediment. They'll have organized, you know, figured out whether it's hazardous or not, and figured out where they're going to take it, and that'll all be part of it. It's possible that program would be affordable when we get the contracts back. In other words, that the grant matches what the contractors are, or it might not. And the bridge may, you know, the contractors come back and say, well, you've allocated, I don't know, whatever the number is, somewhere $1.5 million, 2 million, maybe a little north of that, for a new bridge. And the contractors say, yep, we'll do that, no problem. It'll take whatever the time is. Yeah.
Well, I threw a number out at the thing up there, 4 to 5 million, and they thought I was crazy. But when they did the bridge on Route 100, it was, what, 10 years ago now? Ballpark figure. It was 1.1 million. Since then, the pipe of concrete has gone right out of sight. What's a poured yard of concrete worth now, Jeff?
Somewhere in the range of $400, I guess, and that's not bridge strength concrete. I mean, and they're gonna buy it cheaper, but you know, that's not a bad. I mean, you know, and this overall project over here, I don't think that concrete's probably, I mean, if they're doing a metal arch bridge, the concrete's probably not the biggest number in the whole. And
Yeah.
you got 2 footings, you know, you got a footing on each side of it, and
if I understand it correctly, the footing on the uphill side, the west side, the library side, that's probably gonna stay there. They're just gonna move the other one this way.
yeah,
I don't know.
you know, and my only concern, and I know nobody's really reached out to me about it, but my only concern with the arch bridge, and just food for thought, I'm not trying to be a pain in anybody's butt, is access to the old Coughlin property. And right now you've got kind of a low bridge. And now you build an arch bridge and it just cuts your site.
Mhm.
Just think about that a little bit. If there's a possibility that it cuts your site distance down. And it's concerned me enough that I think that they need, you know, they're gonna raise the bridge, so you need to put fill in. Because for me to authorize an access permit that changes anything of any sort of use over there, that was an access for a single family home, which is permitted and the whole 9 yards. But I went to Alman and I said, I see this coming down the road, like somebody asking for an access permit to change this. Would you just give me some advice? Do you see this passing? And he said, no, they don't have the site distance to change it. So I'm just saying, I think that the driveway is in the flood thing, so then you raise the bridge up by 1.5 feet. And I think if you go over there right now and drive up out of there, it's steep enough. And it's not supposed to really be over like 10% to, you don't want cars ripping up out of there in a snowstorm and not stopping because they want it. So now you raise it by 1.5 feet and then you raise the grade, and the way I understand this river, so just food for thought.
Yeah, all those things, and I'm gonna address a frustration of mine. What they've talked about doing is raising the bottom of the bridge 1.5 feet, but not the top of the bridge. Because the trestle bridge is thinner, because the structure is up in the air. So, and I was just looking at this yesterday, if we leave the road surface exactly where it is, that trestle bridge will raise the bottom of the bridge almost 1 foot.
Okay.
And so I think it's really important that, because I just was talking to Tom Ettinger this morning. He said, geez, you're gonna raise that, every time I drive down here, I say, you're gonna raise that bridge 2 feet. And that's, how the hell are you gonna do that? I said, Jesus, Tom, we're not raising the bridge 2 feet. We're raising the bottom of the bridge. So it's so important to get our, to say this right.
And I think your representation, then your representation at the public meeting. What I took away, and I came and sat through the meeting.
I understand.
What I took from the meeting, and so what you're explaining to me helps me out a little bit, but I'm saying when I go to a public meeting and they're saying we're gonna raise it 1.5 feet, and I'm sitting back trying to take all this in.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point.
And I'm
That's
sitting
a
there
point.
chewing on my desk, but anyway. In the end, all these problems are going to be solved. And or they're not. If they're not solved, it doesn't happen. If they are solved, and if we get enough money to pay for the thing 100%, then it's gonna happen. And it's important that we all understand that.
Well, Jim, I'm not here to be, and I'll go this far. I will say, if that bridge comes in, if the government gives you $2.5 million to build that bridge, and your estimate and your price comes in at 3, I think the town puts the bridge in, because that bridge is 50 years old. You're not gonna build a bridge for $500,000.
That's a decision for another time.
I'm just saying,
But-
I'm not against you.
Okay,
I'm just saying to you, I'm at that.
might be a pretty good deal, yes.
So,
But that's a debate for another day.
so Denny, your list that you just read to us of the concerns that you have, you were proposing to send that to.
Wyndham Regional.
I've written them all down, I'm gonna send them, I'll copy you on the email. I'll send them to Alyssa and to
Okay,
Megan.
I don't see
And
there's any problem in sending that list at all.
Absolutely not. And we've been through that with the dam thing, you know, the fire department, they're, you know, they say, well, you know, if you tear down the dam, we're not gonna be able to get water out of the bridge. And so we've had a water consultant come down to town and say, absolutely, we can solve that, and it's right on all the drawings. We're going to, you know, there'll be sufficient water in a dry hydrant right behind the, and then you heard them saying, oh, well, you're gonna move the river away from the firehouse. No, they're not gonna move the river away from the firehouse.
No, the thing is the presentation we got, I didn't think was very well put. And when people ask questions, they didn't really want us asking questions, so I just voiced my concerns. If the questions get sent on to them, they get addressed and they go figure it into their grant thing, fine. But the bottom line is, when it comes back, and if it's fully funded, fine. If it's not, well,
Then we
Make a decision then.
make a decision then.
And so,
Absolutely.
my understanding is that they'll come back with their final designs or the next iteration of their designs, and then the next iteration after that, and it will be this body's decision as to whether we go forward, or
It will be this body's decision as to whether we go forward on the bridge.
Right, okay,
But
good,
it's
thank
the
you.
community association that makes the decision on the dam.
Okay, but we will not have further community meetings, for example, or maybe we will. to
Maybe we
explain.
will,
Okay,
you know, it's not written anywhere, but this doesn't start for a long time.
Yeah.
Because again, we've got to have the Vermont regional commissions meet on, decide whether to advance our application to FEMA.
right,
And that won't be till June or July. And then June and July FEMA starts, and they're gonna take, they say they're gonna take 6 months. You
right,
tell me.
right. It would be nice to have as clear an idea as we can of what bridge they're gonna put in, all the, some of
It
these
is going to
details
be-
for the April 30th application.
I don't think that's gonna affect Wyndham Regional or the Regional Commission's commission.
I know, I just don't want, I just don't want a proposal to be put in and then everybody assume that that's it.
Well,
That
that
there
is,
isn't gonna be more design
I see you,
changes.
I hear you. I'm not sure what I'm hearing is that they've spent all their budget. And that is the placeholder. And the trap we can't let ourselves fall into is that the rendering in the grant application that's due on April 30th has anything whatever to do with what the final bridge configuration is going to look like,
Mhm.
assuming, and whether that bridge, you know, that bridge, it's hard for me to imagine that the Wyndham Regional Commissions or FEMA are gonna say, well, we don't like that bridge, we're gonna reject this application. They're gonna say, oh, well, it's the Pony Trust Bridge and it'll be thinner and.
I don't want them to say though, oh, well, that's the bridge you put in your initial application, so that's the one you're going with, you can't change it.
Can't be.
Okay, I think it'd be nice to make that
No,
absolutely clear.
It has been.
The bridge or
made-
any other aspect of the.
Any other aspect, the whole thing is, you know, are they gonna widen it 12 feet? Maybe not, they could widen it 10, they could widen it 11. They could leave the road deck exactly the same place and
Right,
just raise the bottom of the.
well, you
of the
said that's
thing.
what they're doing. yeah.
And is some of that gonna be due to what the contractors come back with after it goes out to bid to kind of
No,
look at it?
no, after,
It's
by
gonna
the
be
time
finalized
the
first.
contractors get a package that they can
It's gonna
bid
be
on,
exact.
it is going to be exact,
So then
down to the,
so all those decisions that we're talking about, when is that?
those
who's that?
happen between,
FEMA's approval?
between FEMA's approval, which is going to be sometime
Early
first
26.
quarter of 26,
Uh-huh.
and then a year to do the 100% design, where we have massive input,
So that's our, okay,
okay? that gets us to first quarter of 2027. And then you, you have to put the packages out to bid. You have to choose a contractor. The contractor has to mobilize, and the project has to be done between July 1st and September 31st. Do you think we can do all, choose a contractor, get them mobilized, put it out for bids, get the bids, analyze them, choose a contractor and have them mobilized in 4 months?
It sounds pretty impossible.
I say that's impossible.
It is
So
impossible.
what
Yeah.
we're talking about is the summer of 2028.
Debbie?
So, Jim, your schedule is very helpful, thank you. I just have a quick question. If FEMA awards, do you imagine if FEMA's gonna award us an amount, whatever that amount is, like, say, 2.5 million? And then we're gonna go through a year of redesign. So if in that redesign, we change stuff, will they give us more money then, or how?
I expect they will. It has, and they've done a back of the envelope, a 30% design study, and they put a contingency, I don't know whether I think it's a number like 20%, could be 30%, that's their best guess, but, they could be wrong. And that has to be built into this process somewhere, and I haven't pressed them on that, but,
And I can warn you, with this type of bridge you're putting in, there will be a significant cost for maintenance. Neighbor of mine used to be an inspector on bridges in Connecticut, and he was telling about how they built one bridge down there, cost $8.5 million, and it was back in the 70s or something. And it was one of these type bridges. And he says, last time we painted it, he says it cost us 13 million to paint it.
Oh, my God.
Well, he said back when they built the
does this
bridge.
guy live in San Francisco?
No, let me finish. Back when they built the bridge, there wasn't all the environmental rules and everything.
Oh.
And so this is a big bridge, and they had to put up netting and stuff to catch all the debris from the bridge. And even this little bridge up here, these guys had to have a rowboat in the brook. No, they did. It's some of the ridiculous stuff they require on,
Yeah, right.
and it all drives the cost up. So who's ever sitting at this table in 30, 35 and the bridge needs painting, you can expect a decent little maintenance bill. I'm just warning you ahead of time.
Good, thanks. I
I
won't be
think I'm
here.
looking at Katie who's sitting there.
I was gonna be like, we'll talk about it then. We'll talk about it then.
All right, well, I've taken enough of the time on this old project here, but hopefully somebody got some information out of it.
Thank you for your thoughts,
Right,
very,
certainly.
very
Thank you,
helpful.
Denny.
Yeah, it was good.
Really good points.
I'm gonna send you the list that I wrote down of Denny's concerns. We'll compare a list and I'll send it on to,
Well, Jim, I appreciate your efforts in being the sort of
and
spokesperson.
I'm
for something.
sorry to be all cranky and stuff. Which is-
Yeah, it kind of put me
okay.
on my toes a little bit. I was like, James cranky.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll go back to number 4, review minutes, meetings, and I'm at a little stumbling block here. Because we don't have 3 members present to sign them. You have to be at the meeting in order to sign, and just Jim and I are. So I think we should just make a motion, we accept the minutes and note that there's only 2 members still on the board and leave them unsigned. Unless somebody wants to call the LCT and figure out what to do, we can do it at another meeting, but supposed to have 3, and all we got is 2.
That's an interesting question. Can you call the LCT about that? But I'm gonna move approval.
Second.
Okay, Paul, and.
Either of you in
those-
favor of that?
Yeah,
Because we're not.
and,
Can't
well, no, you, yeah,
be, that's what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, that's the way it works.
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
was, actually, I was wondering what was gonna happen with that.
we have a recording of it, right? Yeah, y'all could listen to the recording. So let's call the LCT and before we put these guys through. Another 2 hours of hell.
I was
Number,
there for part of the meeting.
Yeah.
number 5 says welcome new select board members. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job doing that.
You have,
Feeling baptized, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, review and acceptance of town meeting minutes. Usually when we get something like this, we take them home and discuss them at the next meeting, so you have a chance to read the whole thing and write it up any way you want, if you find any.
Is Kim here? Is there any time pressure on that? Okay,
You know, just to have it accepted within a reasonable amount of time. So within the next month would be appropriate.
and just for the record, I've been through them and I made some small changes. And Kim, Wayne has
I've had a total of 5 people read them. Wayne, you, me, and my 2 assistants. And
Okay.
again, they're not a transcript, so it's not verbatim. It's
And what
just
sort of
meant-
corrections are you looking for? Having been an English teacher, do you want punctuation corrections?
Oh, my goodness. No one told me about that. I might have thought my vote differently.
I'm just kidding. I'm
I
really-
know you are.
Yeah, I'll take punctuation corrections.
I
I'm
made
happy to
made
take your
several
edits.
punctuation.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just not looking for whole rewrites.
Yeah, okay, good.
Or a red F in the upper right hand
Yeah,
corner.
really. Wow, now I feel threatened.
I'm all too familiar with.
We also do the same thing with the delinquent tax report. We let you take it home and review it. Then after you're used to it, sometimes we'll just act on it that night.
I'm out of here, folks.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Yeah,
See you, man.
thanks.
Yeah.
Fuel on the fire, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now we're down to the appointment of town officers. Start at the top of the list. Well, we have Jeff Ursher for road commissioner.
That's why he left.
Yeah.
Just in time.
So this says oh, I'm sorry, appointed town officers 24. These are the ones from last year.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we renew them? Gotcha.
So I'm gonna. Yeah. The top 3, I'm gonna recommend that we,
Top 1, because the other 2 are good to 27, Jim.
oh, sorry. Yeah, so we'll reappoint, yeah, thank you.
James Young and Jeff Brown.
No, just, we're gonna reappoint Jeff. We're only looking for the 24s,
25.
25s, sorry, Jesus.
So do we designate that as a temporary position or,
We just appoint him, and if we find somebody take his place, he'll resign and we'll appoint
I see.
new road commissioner, but we're having a very hard time finding somebody that's, can even do half of what Jeff rattled off.
yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds like
and-
he's got quite the,
Yeah.
By the
it's a
way,
lot.
this is not the road crew foreman. This is the road commissioner,
Okay.
different position.
Different
Okay.
hat.
Yeah,
So he's overseeing everything as the road commissioner. He's not the foreman itself.
he is
Right.
both.
both. He's
Okay.
both.
He has
Correct.
been road commissioner. He was road commissioner when Alman was the road foreman.
okay.
But now he's a road foreman and the road commissioner,
Got it.
right? And I'm gonna recommend that we reappoint James Young and Jeff Brown on the planning commission.
Do we need motions for these or do we just,
Why don't we do it this way? We'll go down through the list, and unless somebody objects at the end, we make one motion to approve all that were.
Okay, but we already did the DRB, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And we really don't have a conservation.
Conservation Commission, Donald Hart is dead. Retta Murphy tendered her resignation to me. And I think reappointing anyone is pointless.
Gonna leave it blank for right now, please. The zoning administrator,
I'm sorry, so does Andrew Harper, we would let him know that he's not being reappointed?
I think that, there's a very long story there. That,
That's all right.
the Conservation Commission is basically dormant. And Andrew does a great deal of work on trail work for the Forest Service and stuff, and will continue doing that. But the Conservation Commission, there really isn't anything for them to be.
Do we need to
doing.
have a conservation? Is it part
I
of the
don't think
town
so, but
charter?
that's a different issue.
I understand.
Yeah.
Just, do we know?
I don't, I can ask.
Okay, great, thanks.
let's see, zoning administrator Will Goodwin. He's good.
Floodplain.
Floodplain, sorry.
We'll re-up him. Do you think? Yeah.
And vendor ordinance administrator Barbara
Oh,
Lloyd.
yeah. And reappoint Kara Halpern.
She has already said yes. And there is an email possibly that I printed out for you. Yes, where she did say it. Oh, I guess I didn't print it
Okay,
out. I
so
apologize.
we're gonna,
But there is a form for Wyndham Regional
Yeah.
if we could sign that.
yeah,
Because I know that she wants to do that.
and Retta, I believe, will be happy with Senior Solutions.
We need a tree warden, Jim.
Oh, right, sorry. I have no idea.
Let's just ask Alman.
Have we had one?
Yes,
Ray, right?
Yeah.
Ray
Yeah,
Manor.
Oh,
No
right.
longer.
No, he doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. Memory serves me correctly.
and some of these, I mean, we could actually just, appoint him and he could, and send him a letter, and if he
So
refuses it,
my memory, I've only done this once before, but for civil defense chairman and regional technology and DVR or DV fiber, I have just sent the letter and they have checked it off and sent it back.
yeah.
Hopefully you may know.
I have a pretty good relationship with the DV fiber guy, but Linda has a much better one than I do.
Green Up is the same.
Yeah, Peter will do it. So I think that's what we ought to do, just,
Well, we don't have a 911 commissioner.
Yeah, Alman doesn't want to do that
oh,
anymore.
okay. I have no idea.
What does that require?
It requires when a person wants to build a new house or something, that they have to get a location first, usually a driveway permit, and then they have to measure from the last known 911 number to get, because it goes in 50-foot increments,
Oh, I never knew that. Oh.
and to come up with the number. And it's a little confusing at times. And right now, Alman's just trying to relax and enjoy his
Gotcha.
retirement.
Gotcha. Is that something that somebody at the fire department might do? Since they're the ones who use those numbers mostly, right?
I think that's a great idea. Maybe we ought to talk to Leo and Brian. And see if any of their guys, does that sound right, Denny?
Yeah, talk to them and see if one of them wanna
Step up,
step up.
because that would be perfect, because they're the guys who are gonna be.
Well, and they're concerned about people having those
Yeah.
signs. They've mentioned that at
Yeah,
town meeting.
Fred
They want-
Probst mentioned that, he might do it too, even though he lives in Andover, but it's. So we've gone down through the list.
Any takers for assistant EMD? we still have a spot open for Assistant
Right.
Emergency Management Director.
I think Shauna would be a good one.
No, thank you. Respectfully decline that.
Yeah, I heard those words more than once at that meeting.
Fred Burke has accepted the position and I have sent him a letter already. I'm just waiting to receive that back for the appointments.
That's for the EMD.
That's for EMD.
Gotcha.
I'm just as happy to leave that blank. We don't have a good idea.
Something put on a list and think about.
Maybe Fred can come up with someone once he's in it for a while.
Right.
Yeah, nice.
The only other thing that's not on the list, I'm sorry, Denny, is just Weston representative for the school board. Deborah Linus is going to retire or effective March 31st.
And wasn't
Rogan Lechtoller
Rogan was
is
gonna step
interested.
in?
But Celeste Keel, who is from the BSRU, says that she just needs the select board's blessing on that.
So why don't, we'll include that in
Motion,
our motion,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
great.
unless somebody's got, well,
Not on this list, but appointed by the select board are members of the flood resilience committee. And I wanted to suggest John Phelan, who was at our 2 public meetings. He took excellent notes. I couldn't be there. He's bright, he's knowledgeable, he's responsive, he's engaged, he wants to be more active in the town. He lives on Mill Lane. And he and his wife are here, I think it's like 5 months of the year, and then other periods here and there. I have a biographical statement if people are interested. I think he would be a good choice to add. He's an attorney. He is retired. He's served on some nonprofit organization boards, and he's involved in project assessment, team building, collaborative problem solving, management. You know, has a lot of very good skills. So I just wanted to suggest that to you all.
Can you give that name again, John?
Phelan?
Phelan,
Phelan.
Phelan.
I'm trying to remember. That's basically a 13-member board, and I don't know that we've created,
There hasn't been any
there hasn't,
like
there's no,
terms or.
there are no terms and no caps on that.
why don't we do this? Why don't we ask Shauna that you got 13 members?
Yes. give
That
it
would
to
that be the 13th or the 14th?
He would be whatever that number is plus
All
one.
right. Why don't we
Yeah,
draw
right.
up a
I
cap,
should know, but
The list is on page 31.
draw up a cap, and then have her sign year terms, 1, 2, and 3. I guess
Wasn't
when
this-
you fill the year terms, just put all names in a hat and draw them out. Okay.
Was this more of a, I mean, I don't know, but wasn't this more of a sort of ad hoc committee that was
At
going
first.
After this flood,
going
yeah.
to exist for the
as long as
purposes
it
of,
needed to.
as long as it needed to, but not be similar to these other commissions, so are we now turning it into a commission then?
Well, if you wanna leave it as just an ad hoc committee that'll disband after this.
That's the way I imagined it.
Before, just before the next
Oh,
flood.
God.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well,
That'll
we
be
can
the
leave it that
triggering
way. I'm
event.
Well, I
I'm fine with it.
No, that, I've been sitting here sort of noodling about that, and exactly that.
All
I
right,
don't
let's
think
leave it
this
that way.
needs to be necessarily a permanent.
So Will, is that, so
The
that,
only reason I brought it up is that everybody who's on that was appointed by the select board. And since you were doing appointments tonight, I thought that might be.
Mhm.
Glad you did, actually,
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
raising a
good.
good issue.
Very, very good.
Not to change the scope or the format.
There are 11 members here.
Then there's two on the top, so it's 14 total. So right
All
here.
right, thank you.
Yeah,
Good.
those two right there.
Good catch, thank
Well,
you.
I caught myself.
14, so this would be 15.
This comes 13.
Okay.
So 11, 12, 13, so this would be the 14th member.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
So do we?
Anyway, let's leave that off this conversation, just. Figure that out at another time.
Okay, do we vote on town officers?
So I'm gonna move that we, do the appointments that we've just reviewed.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh, let's see, number 9, it's 250 anniversary resolution and. Oh, I guess we can sign up and do something, we can sign up and do nothing, we can sign up and make money.
Yeah, I had
There's been a bunch of emails sent prior to this all throughout the year. I think this is just the last time that the town can join if they so wish. They are asking to have someone be appointed as a liaison.
would you be willing to serve as that liaison, just take emails?
I can, yep, try.
Yeah, because that would be, on the template here on the last page, then I would, leave all the whereases and resolve. The first resolve, we see where the Weston is printed in.
Yes.
Then, resolve that the town of Weston officially establishes a liaison individual to work with the Vermont blah, 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 city of town of Weston. They're all voluntary roles. And the next resolution, provide funding. I don't think we ought to provide
that blank.
flooding. And
It says may provide funding.
yeah, well,
That we just on the hook to say may.
I just thought we ought to just leave it.
Is there something we want to get the historical
I was just
society
thinking that,
involved in?
I was just
I
thinking the
mean,
exact same thing.
Yeah, rather than.
Oh,
have it
God,
be
Because
our-
maybe there's
no.
something they can do with this, maybe they wanna, cause
Yeah,
it looks like it's,
Maybe Howie
When I-
would be our guy.
yeah, when I read this, there's a long period, it's a couple of years that they're having this open, so they could do it, yeah. Create something in the summertime or.
I will send an email out immediately.
Yes, yeah, I like that,
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah,
Once I have an answer from them, I will circle back with this.
yeah. And how do you guys feel about may provide funding? I mean, we could leave it in,
I-
Maybe we need to hear what the historical society has to say, if there's something that they,
well,
if they say,
we
hey,
leave
you
it
guys,
in,
you guys can give me 500, we could do something really big and pull people in. Who knows?
and maybe they would kick in 250,
Right,
yeah, I mean,
right,
but the may is not it's not any kind of a
commitment,
commitment at
It's
all.
not will, it's not shall, it's.
Yeah.
may.
Yeah, it's may, so,
it's okay.
so why don't we leave that in?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And you asked and
Yeah.
we'll deal with it next time, right?
Thank you all, good to be with
Beautiful.
you, congratulations, and congratulations to two viewers staying on, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Bye.
Bye, Will.
See you, Will.
Just a point of interest in telling on myself a little bit. When I first came here, the appropriations page was about $1,000. Now it's well over 100,000. So when you approve money or get involved in things, just keeps. Cha-ching. Why are you smiling at me?
I'm just remembering back then.
Oh, let's see, number 10, I don't have a paper.
That is just your friendly ethics
Reminder.
reminder.
We're gonna do
Yeah.
that online, the training.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I can send you all the links. There's no question or answers, it's just watching the video.
They say they're gonna give you a test, they don't.
They don't.
Okay.
If you could just forward me the email that you receive after you take the training, that would be great. The open meeting law is kind of the same, it's just a video. And that is all I have to say.
So, Sean,
good,
can I
done.
go on? Sorry,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? So the ethics training, the DRB needs to take that.
Correct.
But do they have to take the open meeting law, or it's all one thing?
I don't believe that they need to take the open meeting law, I can read further into that.
Okay.
And
I've sent them the link.
some people have, yeah.
Good, all
Yeah,
right. Good. Then I will-
I'll give you just a heads up, I took the first 20 minutes. I just started out and then the phone rang and I timed out. And you can't go back in
Right,
after 20 minutes
And
unless you have signed up in the beginning. You gotta give them your name and an email address.
that's
This is
all
the,
they-
this is the ethics one?
This is the ethics thing.
Okay.
It takes 50 minutes
Yeah,
and, but just don't be
otherwise you have to
lazy
go to
like
the
me
beginning, okay.
and just start watching it.
There are some points in there that you're like, oh, I didn't think about it. There are some blatantly obvious things that you're like, come on, but it's a nice little,
So what are they gonna
1
do
hour.
to the person that don't take it?
I do not know the answer to that.
Let's hope we don't find out.
Yeah.
Ethically challenged.
Thank you,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye, Dad.
Good
Bye,
night,
Deb.
good
The
night.
most interesting thing I learned from it is that there is a Vermont Department or Ethics Department or something like that. And you can call them and ask them your ethical question.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Okay.
Which is actually pretty
It's
cool.
nice, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good resource, sure.
yeah.
So we have to do that as members of the select board,
Correct.
and the DRB has to do it. Who else has to do it?
They recommend that like Kim, the town clerk does it, they recommend Board of Abatement does it, they
Probably
recommend
the
that everyone
BCA,
does
yeah.
it, but people who are,
I think it's just people who, decision makers, people
Yes,
who
correct.
make decisions about things.
So
Yeah,
the library board?
I don't know, because it kind of, I don't know, I can ask, I'll
I
ask.
don't.
Let's not
I'm
push
guessing
that.
not, yeah, yeah,
It's okay.
let, the jury will ignore that.
Yeah, that-
What has happened in the last few years is Jim tells me I'm too blunt sometimes, but the dictators in Montpelier just send these things out and say, you're gonna do them.
Just do it, yeah.
And
They do that in the real estate world too, yeah.
And
Well,
this
the
is the
ethics
first
training
year.
is yearly.
Yeah,
right?
well, every 3 years.
Well, one of them is yearly, I
I
think.
believe it's open meeting is yearly, but this is the
Oh.
first year that it's been
Yeah.
mandated, so we don't really know what kind of punishment we'll receive.
Probably the answer is none.
Right,
but anyways,
Mhm.
I do
And-
think about it at 3 AM.
And this is something I agree with Grumpy Denny on, the unfunded mandates, you know, are just, I mean,
Yeah, they roll a lot out.
yeah,
I
and
hear you.
you will receive a lot of emails about different grants. I mean, there's a ton of grants out there. But one of the, bad, or I'll call it bad, things the state does is like with some of our highway grants. Say they give us a grant for $25,000. Rather than them take and give some money to Wyndham Regional to handle it, do their part of this grant thing. We have to take money out of that grant and pay Wyndham Regional. So we don't really get the whole amount of the grant or work. on whatever project or whatever is going on. The state has got the greedy fingers out there shoving it down the road to Wyndham Regional. So when you see grants, sit back, take a second look at them, please.
Advice.
Let's see, I guess we're number 12. Usually we do the payroll one first, but you got in front of you, Linda. And Katie, and this is all the ones for this. We get these twice a month. Sometimes there's 3 weeks worth of stuff on there, and sometimes there's 2. It was changed to twice a month last year. And in the winter time, the town highway employees that can go all over the place, like I said at town meeting, they can talk to Mother Nature about the overtime.
Anyway, so I'm gonna move approval of payroll check warrant report number 5 in the amount of $12,826.34.
I second it.
Any questions on it? All those in favor? Alright.
So how closely should we be looking at this? I mean,
This one here is kind of stagnant, I mean, repetitive. It's the next one that you want to pay close attention to, and I'll point one. I've got a question on one item on it.
okay. So aside from the road, I'm signing this. Aside from the road crew, the rest of the salaries are pretty much standard,
Right, I mean,
consistent, rather.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if. I mean, I recognize all the names on this list, obviously, because they all work for the town and, you know, I'm used to seeing the kinds of numbers, and I assume that somebody's read the time cards right, but that's all I'm looking for.
Okay, great.
Couple times a year we go well over $1 million, but on this one, it's a school payment. All right, on the accounts payable. Maybe you can answer this question, Jim. There's a charge on here for $1,053.76. Third one from the top. What fund does that one come out of?
All those are coming out of the MTAP grant. Yeah,
I mean, that's what Kim was gonna put it in.
yeah. Those are for, you know, the
Pieces.
pizzas and stuff like that for those 2 town meetings.
I also bought a vacuum.
But yeah, I heard, and you
It's
spent $130.
Well, 102, I must have used the
Oh,
coupon.
God.
The other
Wow.
one was broken and we had pulled it apart and put it back together and molded it.
So just for some clarity, uniforms and towels, whose uniforms are those?
The highway
Sorry, road crew,
Yeah.
road crew.
okay.
And then the rug, that's these.
Yep.
Rugs in here.
Cargill Incorporated is road salt.
Gotcha.
Chepwell Tractor Sales, that's tire chains and that type of stuff.
So that was some new snow tires, probably studded tires,
Studded tire chains.
studded tire chains. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, where's that,
It's the fifth one down.
Cargill.
Sixth one, 2,
Cargill.
4, 6.
oh, yeah.
Coda and Coda is diesel fuel for the trucks.
Oh, not heating oil.
That's Marcel.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I see.
David Shays Trucking Winter Sand. Foley Services is rugs. Jack Wall Blades, it's the cutting edges for the snow plows and the graders. They're a wear item and they're replaceable. Marcel oil is heating oil. Take a second to relay some information. Seems like every year they put out the heating oil and stuff, the bid, or used to years ago. And how every year we seem to end up with a different oil person to supply oil for the town. They'd come in and do these service contracts for the furnaces. Well, they'd always find little things wrong, even though they'd been serviced year before. And last 2-3 years, we've stuck with this one we've got, and we haven't had that issue. But then on another thing that was done, I won't mention names, but the town ended up with pieces of equipment that could run by electricity. And Shauna and I went to check on one the other day. The electricity was unhooked and there's wires going to a battery. And this relates to the furnaces, because outfit that want to put this stuff in wanted to come down and do a check. Well, being as electricity wasn't hooked up, battery's been sitting there for well over a year, maybe two. Been two, right?
Into, yeah.
Probably dead, and they were gonna hit us with a replacement battery. I plugged it in and boom, working.
Yeah, but if a battery has been fully discharged for almost a year, I think they owe us a new battery, honestly. Cause this is a lead acid battery, and lead acid batteries.
You sure?
Well,
Look
in
at
my
yours,
experience, they don't like being fully discharged for a long period of time.
yeah, but they got a gel in them now, Jim.
Or are
can't-
those AGM batteries?
Maybe you can't even get the top off to service them anymore.
Oh, well, then those are definitely AGM batteries, and that's probably, we ought to talk to them and just find out.
But anyways, just an example of how people say take advantage of towns and public places. Insurance, road painting, we awarded a contract for upstairs to be painted. We did that what, month and a half ago, and that's a deposit on it. Patrick Sale is our animal control officer, and he has a contract with us.
Yeah, we pay them monthly. And we have a monthly, and then there's there are add-ons if he has a call that goes more than something. I can't remember the exact details, but I think it's a bargain.
So this is basically a retainer. He hasn't done
Yeah.
anything, hasn't had to do anything. If he has to do something, we get charged. more.
Right.
Well, over and above a certain
Oh, I see,
thing.
okay.
You know, because, you know, you get a dog that's off a leash that doesn't have a collar, and you gotta find it, and then, you know, or you know, a neighbor sees a dog in their front yard and they don't like it, and, you know, so Pat Salo has a lot of calming down to do on occasion, and, you know,
Charges us for that.
and he charges, and I can't remember the details, but I think he's a bargain, a
Okay.
huge bargain.
And the third one from the bottom is just one of them charges the state sticks us with for,
$106?
no, $13.50.
Oh, okay.
And then the bottom one, so which one's that coming out?
That's the same MTAP comes out of that.
And then, oh, I think we already paid it for this year. There's one for the landfill, one in Derry, and there's a Windsor County Court when we pay. There's a bunch of them we pay. So we have $57,666.24.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve,
57,
yeah,
666, 24.
whatever this is, number 6, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number
6,
5.
57, sorry, number 5, yeah, sorry, 5, and that amount, that 57 amount, I don't have it in front of me.
$57,666.24.
Yeah, thank you, okay, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who second? Did you get a second?
Right. Donna, I don't see a reference to this here. Is this something that was added last minute?
Oh, that is for old and new business, and I was just looking for that.
This dream machine thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It is, so we had the computer guys in here, setting up the new computer for the lister. Just checking on a couple things that we had, and we don't have currently a firewall, which he thought was extremely nerve wracking. It's just another layer of protection for our computers. We do consistently get, people trying to hack into our systems, so.
Yeah, he was, sorry, it's Kim. He was a little concerned about that and felt that it was really just a standard thing to have, almost like uninterrupted power source. He believes that the $499 piece of equipment plus some time for installation and making sure everything's set up properly, but it would give us another layer of protection. And I think it allows us to get rid of Norton, so there is a few $100 savings over the course of the year to not have that Norton. We've also got Windows already in there for security.
Who was suggesting that, Kim?
We use an IT guy out of Dorset named Mike Olafal, and he comes in.
No, that's what I was missing. Got it.
Yeah, sorry. Southern Vermont Computers was his former business name, but he's semi-retired. He comes in and we pay him by the hour, and he's responsive.
Okay, great.
So I'm gonna move that we buy this and
So the cost is $499, $500 plus another $500 roughly for installation.
yeah.
Is that right?
Correct.
Understood.
He charges $95 an hour.
Yeah,
So should how about, I move that we spend not to exceed $1,200 for the Dream Machine firewall, including installation.
Second,
Further discussion.
I can't believe it could have taken 5 hours to put this in. I mean, it's
Well, a lot of
basically,
times they charge travel time from home to.
okay, so that's an hour. Right.
So he's not charging time and travel. He's just charging time, but he's overestimating. He's going to install it, but then he has to remap everybody's systems with the firewall in place and then just make sure that they're working. And he has to make sure that the scans are working and the copier and everything's communicating again. So he's estimating at max 5 to 6 hours.
Is he installing on multiple devices? Is that what he's doing? Or
Yeah,
no?
we have 9 computers in the office, 8 or 9.
That could take a while.
So he's got to get them all mapped and linked in through this firewall.
Kim, does that include the computers upstairs?
Yes.
Okay.
And those are the computers that the listers use, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Would we have a second of that motion?
I seconded it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we go down to 13, old and new business. Lisa had a couple projects she was working on when she got done, and she said she'd finish up, and one of them was the new roof on the firehouse, and there was some stuff come across the iPad today that I believe she sent out bids to 4 different outfits. Did you see it? And so they should be getting back to us, maybe by next meeting we'll have it. She also said she'd commit to doing two-bay addition for the town garage, getting things ready for that. And as you heard her explain, attached it to the new building. We have to rewire the whole thing, which the new building isn't perfect. Gonna be a busy spring from the reappraisal standpoint, I expect. Because there'll be a lot of reappraisals. And if they come to the Board of Abatement, your Chris runs that. And usually there's a team of 2 or 3 people that go to visit the residents. And come back with recommendations. And so just let you know what's coming down the pipe.
And so if they are arguing about the appraisal, the reappraisal, does that come to, that goes to the Board of Abatement and then comes to us, or does
No.
not come to us?
That doesn't come to us.
It goes
So
to
we're honoring members of the Board of Abatement, so, and I think that, the Board of Abatement needs
Justice of Peace, I think, are in there.
the Board of Abatement, Board of Civil Authority, and
Yeah,
Justice
Board
of
of
Peace.
So we all decide whether the
Yeah, whoever's at the
reappraisal is
meeting,
fair.
present, and if I understand the reappraisal, people are going to get their, the first stage, and I think this is, if I understand it correctly, and I'm not sure about this, but they're going to get their new appraisals in the next 2 or 3 months. And, but those will be in the vacuum, you're just gonna get it. And with the request that you just check it for accuracy, which is to say, right number of rooms, right number of acres, right number of bathrooms, you know, just check the box to make sure that they're describing your property accurately. There will be no appeals on that. It's just, you know, it's just
Factual.
just to make sure that it's corrections, or additions or whatever. And then, when they get all those back, they will send out the corrected appraisals, and the whole list will be available online. So then you can go and do, any particular homeowner can do the, you know, the due diligence of saying, well, you know, my house is just about the same, or it's way better or way worse than, you know, this other guy. And at that point, I think the appeals are gonna start rolling in, and that's not gonna be till summer, if I understand it correctly. Am I right about that, Danny? Sounds like I'm wrong.
I thought this was all gonna be done so that the tax rate would be based on the reappraisals this year.
Well, that
That's my
there
understanding.
might be time, because it's not till October that,
No, they have sent tax,
as of the April.
tax bills out in July. You know anything about it, Kim?
Yeah, my understanding is that they will send out the reassessments in whatever few steps there are. People will have an opportunity to come back to the listers and grieve first. The listers will sort through as much of that as they can. And then people will come to the Board of Civil Authority if they have further grievances on the assessment. But my understanding is that we are taxing on these new assessments this year. So it has to be done so that we can get our tax rate set in earlier mid-July. And tax bills go out by early August at the latest. So no, this is supposed to be the new tax rate. The new tax bill is based on the new assessments.
New appraisal, yeah, right.
So basically, the amount of money that the town raises to run the town, the rate will drop. Instead of being like $1.50, it might drop to $1. Raises basically the same amount of money. The one we're going to be hurting on is the state one. And if the state continues at $1 a thousand round figure, and you had a place that was appraised at 300,000 and it went to 400,000, you got $1,000 more in taxes.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But Chris Merle mentioned something about the state has got this rainy day fund. And people are so upset about the way the school education tax is going, that they were gonna dump that into the education system and try and reduce their rate they're charging, but he mentioned 27 million, and that isn't gonna make a hell of a lot of difference statewide.
But he did, I mean, the corollary to that was watch out next year. This year, it's gonna get softened by, you know, by that, whatever that money is.
And Jim said he told you folks this when he talked to you, but you know, after you've been here a while and find out whether this is your cup of tea or not. If it's not your cup of tea, you know, you can say bye-bye to us, no hard feelings or anything, because this isn't.
Tonight?
This isn't.
After tonight.
This isn't for everybody.
Don't tell them that on the first night. Give them a couple more.
But, and sometimes some people can come through the door and they can be very angry and naughty.
Yeah, I would expect that that's gonna happen occasionally.
Yeah, doesn't happen very often, but it's never nice.
Yeah.
When it does.
And the best attitude is just be quiet, let them rant.
Thank them.
Thank you for your opinion.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you got any questions, holler at us.
I will.
So if we're done, I'd like to just briefly go into executive session to discuss personnel. And I'm gonna ask Shauna to stay here for that, because she's got the.
You need a motion for executive session, yeah?
Yeah, did yeah, so we need a.
I move, we move in to go into
Oh,
executive
didn't I
session.
move that?
I don't think you
I
said.
second
that.
it.
Okay.
You're running the place.
So the
there.
I
record
didn't
will
hear the
show-
word move. Did you hear the
Oh,
word
I
move?
did.
There's a certain number he's supposed to quote, but Shauna's got.
Shauna's
it. She
got
puts
that.
it in.
We,
Okay.
yeah,